What is up, everyone? Prometheus here. Today I'm going to be doing a video where I talk about this classic from 1986, Stephen King's Stand By Me, directed by... what was his name? The director... what was the director's name again? Shoot, I should know this for the video. Directed by... well... shoot, I forgot the name of the director. Just correct me in the comments if you know the director. But, this is based off Stephen King's novel, not the Thing, The Body. I recently did a video on The Thing, so I got that messed up. But basically, this is Stephen King's favorite adaptation of his novel. I hear, because so what I heard is that when he finished watching this movie, he actually hugged the director of the film because of how faithfully and masterfully he adapted this. And yeah, this is just a great look back at youth, a great coming of age story. It's just overall a great film. What I love most about this film is the characters, the main four kids. So what they do is they just give me such kid and when I say kid energy, I mean they're kids. Yeah, those are kids. They're acted by kids. They act like kids. Their dialogue, they talk like kids. They act like kids. They do things kids would do. And what I love most is that it kind of reminds its viewers of when they were younger, that those are the best years of your life when you're young. Like when I was a kid, I thought, oh, being an adult is like, oh, it's gonna be so cool. I get to do all this stuff without my parents telling me what to do. But now that I'm older, now I realize, oh no, that being a childhood, as a kid, you're more free than you will ever be in your life, because when I say free, you're happy. You have to go to school, you have to listen to your parents, but you're more free than you're an adult. When you're an adult, you gotta work most of the time during the week. You gotta pay bills. You gotta fend for yourself, barely having enough time to do more time to have fun and do whatever you do. Have fun with your friends, have imaginations, do fun stuff, chase dreams as a kid. But as an adult, it's just you see the real world, and this movie kind of just brings me back. I watched this film for the first time when I was around the same age as the kids in this movie. It's really just rated R for the really a lot of profanity and the dead body in the movie, of course. We can't forget that. But, so when I love this film. I recently rewatched some of it earlier today, and yeah, it reminds me, I'm still pretty young. I'm not old. I was born in the 2000s. I always talk about films and look back at it so nostalgically, like I was born in the 80s or 90s, when I wasn't. I just kind of have a lot of nostalgia for these classic films because my parents grew up with them and they wanted me to see these films as well, and thankfully I really like them. So thanks to my parents, I have a great love for movies. They got great taste. So I watched this film for the first time a few years ago when I was around maybe 12 to 13 years old. I think maybe I was younger, maybe I was a few years older, who knows. But I watched it with my dad, and yeah, I love this film. I actually made, when I was a little kid, I actually made my top 10 movies of all time, which was it was just films I had seen before. I didn't know about The Godfather, I didn't know about Lawrence of Arabia or Schindler's List, because I haven't seen them yet. So I just put movies like Black Panther, The Karate Kid, Star Wars. Stand By Me was number 10. Interstellar was number 1. And man, let me tell you, Interstellar is great. I might make a video on that one. But this film was it was on the top 10. Looking back at it now, it's probably not one of my top 10 movies of all time, but it's nonetheless just a great film. The story of the kids, you look back, you look at them, they talk about how these were the best years of their life. These kids are flawed and realistic. They are not some perfect, enthusiastic kids. No, they have problems. Some of them smoke. They have a lot of profane language. They do some stupid things. They insult people. They're not perfect kids by no means. Like, I'm not perfect. No one's perfect. But as a kid, it's a kind of the years where you live free. You can do fun things. You create memories, and as an adult, you look back at those memories of a kid who saw the world more in a more just forgiving and forgiving way. Like, as a kid, I remember this from grade one. A friend told me about a trap, like a war trap, in I think Vietnam. I think, but basically it was a trap where the ground breaks, where like the ground breaks open, and spike pits, a large spike pit that the soldiers can fall into. Something about the Vietnam War, and I thought, oh yeah, no, no, no. I used to think stuff like war, stuff like violence and traps and weapons and being stabbed and stuff. I thought that wasn't real as a kid. And, like, I wish I could go back to not knowing that, because now that I'm older, I know of all this stuff. I know how cruel the world is. But as a kid, I thought it wasn't real because I had never seen kind of that stuff on film. Well, I did watch movies. I watched Alien for the first time when I was like less than 10, but I didn't find it scary. I think because I knew it was fiction. I just thought it was cool. Like, horror movies don't really scare me much because I know they're fiction. They're not real. Now, movies like Schindler's List and The Pianist, they terrify me because that's real. That did happen, and it can happen today. Just look at the Russia-Ukraine war. Just look at all the crap happening in the United States. That place is a zoo for crazy people at this point. Now, there's a lot of countries I can say are filled with crazy people, but the U.S. is just a whole other breed. Even Canada, like, I love this country. But I won't deny that it's been pretty ruined by its government. Like, I talk about, like, politics, about war, as now that I'm older, but as a kid, none of that stuff fazed me because I thought, oh, that wasn't real, or I was oblivious to that. And this movie kind of reminds me of those years when you were younger and you were very immature. I mean, these kids do know a lot about the real world, unlike me when I was in grade one. But they also remind me, like, you have a lot of cool memories. You may do some stupid things as a kid. I did a lot of stupid things. In fact, I still do stupid things today, but this movie kind of just reminds you of younger years. It just, when you're friends, you did fun things with your friends, but then one day you have to grow up and all your friends go out, get jobs, get families. Some of them, bad things happen. Some of them even pass on. Like at the end of this movie when spoilers, if you don't want spoilers, skip ahead, but the main character's best friend dies after being stabbed when he was older, and just I that kind of reminds me, like, I was always like really immature as a kid when I was younger. Like, I just looked at things through it. I was annoying, really annoying and obnoxious, like later years of elementary, and especially in junior high. Junior high was a crazy for me. Like, elementary, those are the best years of my life. Those will always be them. And then when I started, see, grade 7 and 8 were pretty just crazy. I didn't focus on marks. I was crazy, immature, and annoying. Grade 9 was the turning point for me, though. That was when everything changed and viewed the world differently. I'm going to cut off for a second here and need to do something quick. Okay, I'm back. I just had to do something quick. So yeah, this movie's director was Rob Reiner. But back to what I was saying, the world changed. My view, my mindset kind of changed when I turned to grade 9. I turned 14 to 15 years old. I stopped being really talkative and annoying. I was a lot more mature. Oh, I need to cut off for a second here. I need to do something. Okay, sorry about that. I'm a pretty busy person. But back to this. So yeah, it kind of reminds you. Grade 9, it changed. Grade 9 was the year that I grew up. Like, I became a lot more mature. Political as well. I had a lot of more political views. Trust me, I can get very political. And I focused more on getting the good marks in school. I was less about movies and video games, though I did talk about them a lot still. But it was kind of more so just the real world. I faced the real world and I matured. I wasn't no immature little kid, but this YouTube channel is still a good place for me and Mayor Dragon to kind of just show that enthusiasm, but then outside we still have to be like we're still in the real world, and we gotta, you gotta be mature, you gotta be strong. I mean, and smart, because Yeah, I'm smart, but I can be stupid sometimes. Don't get me wrong. We all are. But this film just reminds me, like, I remember 12 to 13 years old when I was kind of like these kids. Like, yeah, I wasn't getting into a lot of trouble, but I was being really talkative, enthusiastic, often saying stupid things, doing stupid things. And then grade 9 kind of the ending of this movie where the kids all just, they break the gang breaks up, they all have to go their separate ways, kind of reminds me of me going into grade 9, where sometimes I have to leave some of my old friends behind and don't talk to them as much anymore. Reminds me of that. Like, some kids end up being good, but then others just, it changes. Oh, I got cut off for a sec. Okay, sorry about that. Sorry for all the cuts, just laundry and stuff. So let's get back to talking about. So yeah, grade 9 was the turning point. About the friends. Some friends you gotta watch grow up, become good kids. Where other friends who I knew through elementary and were good kids, they end up just falling into bad habits. Some of them become bad kids, gangsters, and others stay the same while others grow up. Some grow apart. Some grow. Like, I know that feeling. These kids, you don't know what's going to happen. They have dreams that they want to do. Like, you want to become a big movie director, you want to become a big actor or some big celebrity as a kid, but you don't realize that it's going to require so much work and dedication. Then when you get to junior high and high school, you realize that, and changes, and you're constantly changing what you want to be, and then you end up just taking some normal part-time, full-time job that any normal person would take. You don't end up being a celebrity. Like, that's what happens to some people. Your dreams don't always go the way you want to. But with enough hard work and dedication, they can. Also, I need to cut off for a sec. Okay, sorry I keep cutting off. It's just busy doing different stuff as I film this. But anyways, so this film just reminds me old friends, some who ended up being gangsters, others still end up being pretty good kids. You just don't realize that some kids, they have great dreams, but then they just end up taking mundane jobs in the future. Like, I grew up, I wanted to be some big chef, some big thing, and then I wanted to end up being the CEO of a video game company, and I didn't realize how much work it would take to do that. Then when I got to junior high, I decided to work at a video game company. I was interested in working at Bethesda, which it's still one of my favorite video game companies. They're not perfect, don't get me wrong, but I still like their games despite all the glitches and stuff. But yeah, then ended up dropping that dream of video game companies and celebrity status and stuff. More just taking, like, a simpler job while being a YouTuber with my best friend as a side gig. Like, I'll take whatever. I don't need to be a celebrity. Though, always aim high in life. I'm still going to work hard to get maybe a good degree in college and possibly do get a role at like a movie studio, because I've found a newfound love in films, and now I want to get involved in the film industry somehow, even if it's a small role, like maybe a screenwriter, not a director, because I would make a lot of mistakes making movies unless I. But yeah, I now want to study in film, maybe become a film teacher. That's what I'm focusing on now. But I wanted to become a big chef, then a video game CEO, then those dreams kept on getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and that until I just took the best thing I could with what I had. Because I couldn't really imagine myself being a video game company CEO. I look back at in my Google Drive at old presentations I'd make as a kid of what I do as with the company, and though my parents supported that dream, they also taught me that it comes with hard work and that you can't always achieve those. And my dreams keep changing and changing and changing. And now I just be involved in the film industry somehow. See how that changes. Stand By Me shows me like all the enthusiasm you may have as a kid, those dreams that you always have, that you look forward to as an adult, and then you become an adult, and you're you have a lot less freedom. You have to take what you get. You gotta deal with the real world, and the real world is cruel. It's gonna tear you to shreds, beat you down. Doesn't care if you're disabled or if you're weak. It will beat you down, and you can't just sit there and cry. You gotta get back up and fight back and work hard. Some people start out with dreams of being like a big actor, and then they do end up coming that, but that comes at a cost. They need to work very hard to achieve all that. If I continued my dream of being a video game CEO, I would need to work so hard, but honestly, I don't need to be CEO. That'd be hard. I'd think it's better if I like get a job in a movie industry, or at least become something like a film teacher. I'll still be doing, once I do end up getting a job, I'll still be doing the YouTube channel with Mayor Dragon. It's just gonna be more of a side gig because eventually I'm gonna have to grow up, become older, get a job, get a life outside of this YouTube channel. There's college or university. It's gonna be a lot, but that's a part of growing up. And these kids, they went through that in the movie. They grew up. They saw their first dead body, and they saw that the world is a lot less cruel. Even a kid like the kid, the dead kid, the world wasn't cruel. Wasn't nice to him. It killed him, and that happens to those kids. That's really reflected in the movie's antagonist being the older teenage guys who are like big gangsters, 1950s gangsters, and willing to kill those kids. Like, it's terrible. And there's a lot of, it was a pretty bad back then. There's still some pretty bad kids these days as well, though. And like, this film realistically portrays just youth, childhood, what it's like to grow up. Sometimes you have dreams. You talk about like your favorite cartoons and movies, and you have so many different dreams. You're juggling around all those dreams, and you eventually have to grow up and take mundane jobs. Take what you gotta get. Deal with money. Pay bills. Like, you don't realize that as a kid. These kids, they're going on adventures with their friends, getting into trouble, getting into danger. And that only happens as a kid. You can have great experiences and adventures as an adult. You might have more choice as an adult, but you don't have as much freedom to think and see the world in a much more merciful and forgiving lens. Think up all the dreams, do all the fun things, have so many different interests. Whereas as an adult, you have to be focused. You got to be stern. It's a lot different. That's why, well, technically you might have more choice with what you want to do with your life as an adult. You still have the most freedom in your entire life, when mainly in your elementary days, maybe early junior high, but once you get to grade 9 in high school, grade 10 is where I had to focus. When I was in grade 10, I had to focus so much on getting good marks because I needed to get into the best classes I could to kind of get into the course I wanted to, like film. Like, it's difficult, whereas when you're in elementary, it's a lot easier. And kids, they're a lot more merciful sometimes kids can be very cruel, yes, but when you're in elementary, they're usually just enthusiastic, happy, annoying, and talkative, but that's what it is like. Junior high, it's when the kids start to get a lot worse, and high school is when they become pretty dangerous, depending on their upbringing or what they end up being like. Like, these kids in Stand By Me, although some of them definitely had some bad upbringing, one of them actually uses a gun at one point, but that kid didn't end up being a bad kid. A lot of them didn't end up being bad kids. One of them became an upstanding citizen, but for that, he was killed. He was stabbed. One of the kids, I believe it was Vern, or I don't know where. I forgot which name, but it was the kid. He seems like a bad kid. He swears a lot. He says mean things, but he's still a very good kid on the inside. He's flawed, but and he ends up trying to stop a fight, and he dies, and that's kind of how it is growing up. You never know what's going to happen to your friends. Some of them you never see again after elementary or even junior high. They move away, they end up achieving things, and you just end up being, and you yourself, you want to be some big celebrity, someone who sticks out when compared to your average Joe. But then when you grow up, you just end up being another fish, another grain of sand in the endless ocean or endless desert of just common people who do common jobs and just make a normal amount of money and just don't achieve too much in life. They may have families, they may not, but that's what most people end up being, with only a select few people who either were born rich and end up growing up rich or work so hard to become a celebrity. That's what you gotta do. But celebrities' life, even their life, isn't always the greatest. They have to, when they're out in public, they're always getting attention. There's always people recognizing, like, let's say we're Keanu Reeves in public. Oh, hey, look, it's Keanu Reeves. I mean, he's one of the nicest people in the world, obviously. Or maybe let's say you're The Rock, and oh, look, there's The Rock. Let's get a picture. It's constantly more people getting autographs, and it can be overwhelming. And there's a lot of people that may hate that celebrity, and like, but then when you're a normal person, not many people know about you. You're just another fish in the ocean. You may not have, but if you have a family, you have them. And let me tell you this: family is the most important thing in someone's life. You may not be a celebrity where the entire world loves you, but if you have a family with a wife who loves you, with kids who loves you, that's the world to you. That's all you need. That's like, I wanna maybe, what I'm looking for is maybe to become a film teacher and author and YouTuber on the side gig. Meow Dragon has a lot of good interests too, but this film just kind of, I just reminds me, when you didn't have a job, you just attended school, which was usually fun, not too stressful, mainly in elementary, and you got into, you were drip feeded some of the content of the real world, but you were usually just watching funny videos on iPads, watching cartoons, talking with your friends, coming up with weird scenarios, and what else? There's a lot of things that you used to play with or see when you're in elementary, but then slowly fade away as time goes on. Like, I watched a video recently where it showed a montage of things that it was like you forgot you saw this as a child, and it showed a montage of things that I used to play with, used to see in my elementary days, like little red spiders crawling on the wall, playing with these different toys, like like those little carts and those little cart stools in gym used to play with, or wooden playgrounds, and a whole bunch of different special school utensils, and a whole bunch of other stuff that you maybe played with as a kid in elementary, stuff you saw you had interests in, and then as you grow up, those things slowly fade away. You forget about them. I actually forgot about this movie for a time, but then when I was in a film class, I'm studying to become a film teacher, but when I was in film class, coincidentally, I was planning to make a video on this, and coincidentally, my film teacher put this on. One of her favorite movies, so one of my favorite movies as well, and it's great. Now I don't need to rewatch it at home, because I was originally going to make this tomorrow, but now I'm making it today, and I just love this film. It's only an hour and a half, but like, its runtime honestly feels a bit longer, and I love just going along with these kids on a great little journey, just they're not finding a dead body, they're also just finding something else within them, learning the value of friendship, because friends can be just as much as family as your actual family. They may not be blood related, but like, they can be like your buddy, your male friends can be like your homies, as other people like to call them. They can be like your brothers, or girls and their friends can be like sisters. Now, some friends may not be the best. Some friends can be pretty bad people to you and pretty mean. But the friends that are good, like me and Madragon, have been best friends for many years, since elementary. And he's a really good friend. He's a great guy. Like, no one's perfect, but like, I'm a flawed person. No, I'm not perfect, but don't mind the laughing. My Alexander's watching something funny upstairs. But yeah, he's a great kid. Better kid than me, because I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. He still has that enthusiasm. He still has that dreams and stuff. And like, I can be very political. I can talk a lot. I can be quite a parent. I have two brothers. They can be very annoying, and I can be a really big, bossy, often parent to them because I have a high moral code, morals. But even then, I make mistakes. I mess up with moral things, but I'm always trying to boss them around to be like, I'm like a parent to them sometimes. I'm always, I can be bossy and telling them, no, you can't do that. No, that's bad. I should just let them do what they want, and they can get in trouble and they can learn on their own, because that if I end up being a parent, I could be really bossy like that, when sometimes you can let kids have their fun and learn on their own. Like my brothers, they're still young at heart. But they make mistakes. Sometimes I tell them, you shouldn't do that. I try to be like some guy who speaks wisdom to them to try and help them like do better, be more moral. But really, that's the job of the parents and not me. But when I do end up being a parent, I need to instruct my children how to be good, but also be really nice to them. But sometimes have to put my foot down to let them know that you shouldn't do that, or that this isn't good. Like you always need to be a bit stern sometimes. You need to punish them, because parents who ground their kids, that's showing that they love them, that they want they need to punish them, they need to be hard on them sometimes because they love them. Some of these kids in this movie, like, they have pretty bad parents in Stand By Me. Like, the parents of the main character kind of, after their older son dies, they kind of ignore their younger son, and that's not nice. One of them tried to burn his child's dang ear off. It was the kid with the glasses. And yeah, I was originally just going to talk about the movie, but then I just started ranting about childhood, about youth, about laughing. You can hear my brothers laughing upstairs. They're watching a funny show, but they still have that enthusiasm in them. They still have that enjoyment. I don't always laugh when watching movies, but this movie made me laugh a lot. It's funny. Okay, now talk about the story and how it reminds me of youth. Aside from the talk of youth, the talk of like story in the movie, even despite like how the kids are portrayed, how it reminds you of your youth, about growing up. This is just overall a great, really directed movie. Like, I honestly don't have any problems with it. Like, there's great cinematography, great dialogue. The kids obviously talk like kids. There's a lot of good lessons, like I said previously. Like, it's Stand By Me. Like, I think that's the appropriate name. Like, obviously, it would have been fine if they called it The Body, but the song Stand By Me, like, you have friends, and they always stand by you. The friends you have when you're 12 are the best friends you'll ever have. This film, that's kind of the film's message, and I totally understand why this is Stephen King's favorite adaptation of his novels, because it does it so flawlessly. Adapting the book is so faithful. One of the only real differences with the book is the name, maybe a few others. But I read the book, and yeah, it's pretty faithful. The kids coming up with stories, like when they come up with the story with the fat guy in the pie competition and the puke. That's something that young kids would do. Come up with absurd stories as kids, talk to their friends about it, have arguments and stuff. Like, it's reminds me of that. And Stephen King, like, there's been great Stephen King adaptations. The Shining, Shawshank Redemption. This is one of my top 3 best Stephen King movies, by possibly even like the second best, in my opinion. Like, I don't think it's as great as Shawshank Redemption, but this is my favorite of the adaptations. Like, I think Shawshank's critically the second best, and I watch it a lot. That's a great film. 10 out of 10. But this film's a close second. Like, I can understand why Stephen King didn't not like The Shining. It's a lot different from his book. But that doesn't mean it's not a good movie. I mean, it doesn't mean it's not a good movie. It's a great film. One of Stanley Kubrick's best. I'll talk more about his films. He has a great track record. One of my top 3 directors of all time. He was number 1 for a while, but then I kind of bring it to number 2 because Akira Kurosawa is unprecedented as a movie director. Like I don't know any other director that just does it like him. But back to Stand By Me. Rob Reiner just he deserved that hug from Stephen King. This is a great film. I love it. It is my favorite Stephen King novel. I mean, adaptation. Yeah, it's also my favorite Stephen King novel. Just brings back all those memories of childhood, of youth. Obviously, I'm still young, but I have a good taste of the real world. I know what it's like, and I'm a lot more matured. Obviously, I'm still immature sometimes. Look at some of the meme videos I've done. Look at those weird horror videos I've done. Like, of course, I'm still can be immature sometimes. That's why I have this channel for, to be enthusiastic. This channel is what I go to just be a child, and be young again. And you can't be young forever. You always gotta grow up. And Stand By Me teaches you that lesson so well. So that is why I'm giving Rob Reiner's The Shining a 10 out of 10. This is yet another one of the, like, a little over 20 films I'd give a 10 out of 10. There's less than 30, but that might go up because I've seen a lot more movies recently that I'd give a 10. This film is simple. It teaches you a story, but at the same time it's complex in how you think about it. You can't... This is the best coming-of-age movie of all time, in my opinion. It just tells a good story of being a kid and the friends you may have, and I need to think more. I need to write a book on my elementary dad. Like, I'm also kind of an author. I publish books online. I won't say them though. I'm not revealing my name just yet. Nor we'll do a face reveal, kind of a partial face reveal at 1,000, and then we'll do a full face reveal at 5,000. We should stop reaching for like large heights like 1,000,000. We should just start slow. Try to get the 100, then to 1,000, maybe to 5,000, and we'll keep going from there. But for now, Stand By Me is a masterpiece. It's a great film. Like, the shots are great, the characters are great. I love these kids in the film, how they're portrayed. These actors, great child actors. It deserves its high score on Rotten Tomatoes. It also gives you a taste of the real world as well. This film shows you the spoils of being a child, but at the same time also shows you the real world, and that's what I love about it. Stand By Me is one of the best movies I've ever seen. My favorite 80s film, probably my favorite 80s film, favorite Stephen King movie, and one of the best films I've ever seen. Go watch it if you haven't. Stand By Me is a masterpiece. Prometheus, out.